although you may already know this, we have to go through this training class with everybody that comes into the department. We want to teach you how to first taser without aiming your weapon. So, when you're out and about, it's going to be extremely hard to try to taser people while aiming. It is where you can get pinpoint accuracy, but that's not how we want to teach you to do it. So what we're going to teach you is we're going to show you how to do it with the camera angle. So the hand that has the taser in it, line that shoulder up with my midsection. Use your taser. There you go. Beautiful. All right, now when I get done with my dirt nap, we're going to do it where you have your back facing to me. All right, so now it's going to be, it's going to be the opposite shoulder of where you were using before because you're facing the opposite way. Yep, there you go. Beautiful. All right, I'll be up in 1 second. So, one thing to talk about, go ahead and throw up both of your taser macros. Okay, so the taser is for individuals that are going to be on foot. The taser breaks window and taser suspect and then pulls them out of the vehicle is going to be when individuals are in a vehicle. Please know the difference. Don't pull the wrong taser. Now, you can pregame this. So let's say you're at HP. Let's say people normally VDM and stuff there. You're out there by the road. You can keep throwing this taser macro so you're prepared to just react to somebody trying to VDM you or something right off the jump. That taser macro is good for 2 minutes. It's extremely hard to count the 2 minutes. So when you see it disappear from the chat, it's a good idea to throw it up again just so you know that you're within the 2 minutes time of putting that macro out and making your intent known. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about real quick with you too is actually a little trick. So if you face me, all right. And I'm sure you may know this, but we do have to go over this. So a lot of times gang members will call you up and say, "Hey, Mr. King, come talk to me," right? Now, you see I'm doing an emote, right? Correct. You cannot see the weapon. So when somebody is emoting, the admins have already said that we cannot tell them to stop emoting because it is not an aggressive mannerism in the game. So basically, they're not a threat to us while they're emoting. So unless they're under investigation or something right then, if somebody calls you up and they're emoting, you can't tell them to stop. And we don't want to get in trouble with the admins on that. So with that being said, if somebody's doing this right here, so they don't, hold on, let me change my camera angle. So they don't shoot you, right? You don't get caught off guard. It's a good idea to maintain distance, but also to keep moving around. So I'd be like, "What's up, Mr. King? What you got for me, sir?" So then at that point, if they wanted to actually taser you while you're moving, they'd have to line themselves up with you. So that would have to break the emote, and then you would see the weapon. Don't just walk up on somebody straight that's emoting at you. You know what I mean? You want to have common sense about what you're doing and stuff, and a lot of times they'll move themselves so they can face you better with their camera angle to shoot you or taser you or something. So it just increases the likelihood that you're not going to get shot or tased if you're constantly moving while that person is doing an emote. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about you is the so if you stand right here for me. All right, so we're going to talk about the range of the taser. So about right here, you can aim at me if you need to, but taser me. Okay? You see, you're still good. So, so they say it's 19 feet. I find that entirely hard to explain that to somebody. So that's why I'm showing it to you. And then it's also 1 feet. So if you're like right on top of somebody, you'll normally taser right through them. So with that being said, now taser me. Okay, there's your range. So at this point, and why this is important is because us as officers, we want to try to use the least amount of force possible. So we want to taser when we can so we can arrest them because if we don't, when we kill them, what happens? They go to HP, they're running for their crimes. More than likely, we're not going to get the arrest on them. So they're really not going to get any punishment out of the crime. They're just going to go to HP. And just probably be a little salty you killed them. I mean, that's really it. So with that being said, if you're at this range, you got to know, okay, does he got an AK? Is there multiple suspects? At that point, if there's multiple suspects and stuff, and I'm at this type of distance, or maybe even just a little bit more, I would, gauge that, and I would say, okay, I probably need to resort to my gun at this point, and throw your shoot macro for me. So at that point, you would want to throw that right there if you have some distance. Now, you have to use your own judgment, and you're pretty good with a taser. So, you got to ask yourself, can I maneuver? If can I get around and then taser this guy? If the answer is yes, then good. But if we're looking at your body cam and you're this close and you pull out a gun and you're shooting the guy, now you're using excessive force. Now, likewise, what we don't want to see in the body cam is, let's hypothetically say, somebody's refusing to leave the area at HP. You and me are talking, you're not moving, you're not running. Okay. At that point, you don't need the taser. That person's not going nowhere. The only thing you need to do is capture their attention. And as you're capturing their attention, just keep talking to them. Boom. You're in whole entire situation because I had you cuffed at that point, and I never had to taser you or anything. So that's very imperative that you know when to use your taser, when not to use your taser, and when to use your gun. Because that man right behind you, when he's reviewing those body cams, he's going to say, okay, well, King was out there and he was this close to a guy and he just pulled out his gun. Right. Yeah. So definitely give like a 5-second countdown. Another thing that's good too is, if you're at HP, I think it's always good to throw like two of those warnings. We don't want those guys being able to say, oh, he just told me one time and then cuffed me right up. I didn't even see it in the chat or anything like that. So you want to verbalize it, but you also want to put it out there. And that's why, with the reading of the rights and everything, we want to also read them the rights, because there are people in this game that can't read. And the admin says that we have to also state our purpose. So when you're doing this stuff, you need to be reading those types of things too. So, you don't got to read the whole, this is a green zone, da 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 da, but you need to say, sir, this is my order. You need to leave the area. If you don't leave the area, if you're not healing here in HP, it's going to be a 1.7 and a 3.2. If he says, fuck you, throw it one more time. Okay. And then if it's still not good, then you need to go ahead and do it. I would read it to just, sure. Yeah. If you want to read it, that's fine. But as long as you're making your intent known in your voice, then that's good enough for us also, because you have to verbalize your intent, because like I said, some individuals can't read.